Indiana basketball picked up a Serbian superstar this week, and not enough people are talking about it.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into this, the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. But we've got a lot to talk about today on Locked On Hoosiers. Curt Cignetti, just copy and paste, my man. He picks up another recruit and commit for the class of 2026. Plus, Latrell Allmond has taken his visit to Indiana. Some of the photos he posted, the things he said, and the trends that are happening for the Hoosiers. But we got to begin with a guy that we talked about after it happened, but now that I've taken a couple of days to let this kind of marinate, not enough people are talking about the Serbian sniper that Indiana basketball and Laron Dues picked up from overseas. Aleksa Ristic, Aleksa-Ristic. Aleksa Ristic. He's from Serbia. He's a 6'5" guard who plays at the highest level of Serbian basketball, and Indiana and coach Laron Dues said, "You're the one that we want." And folks, I'm really excited about this, and you should be too, because there are not enough words to describe just how impactful Aleksa could be to this Indiana basketball team. Again, 6'5" guard. He's played several positions, the point guard spot, the shooting guard spot. He has played both of them and feels comfortable doing both, according to him and his agent. But he's going to be on this year's Indiana squad. I don't know if enough people realize that, or maybe even you as an Indiana fan maybe don't realize that. He's going to play this year, this November, coming up in 3 or 4 months. He will be with the team, and he will be a part of Laron Dues' first year here in Bloomington. And that's really, really exciting. 6'5", he scores double-digit points a game. He shoots at 35-40% across his career, and someone who I think is going to be really, really special. Some of the stats for him in his Serbian league, these are from On3, says he averaged over 13.5 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game as well. We told you the other day, he shoots it at nearly 40% from 3, and also a really, really good free throw shooter, nearly 80% from the line. And so we've talked about this idea of Indiana basketball adding an extra player, adding that 12th player, which Aleksa Ristic now is. As of this recording, he was not added to the official online roster, but he has verbally committed. Everything sounds like that it's going to be fine. I'm sure it is a stressful, drawn-out process to try and get an overseas kid here to play in the United States, get him enrolled and do all of that stuff. But he's not going to be here immediately. He's not going to be here today. He's not going to be here tomorrow. It'll be later on in the summer, closer to when classes actually begin. He wants to finish up his season in Serbia. The word is he's going to be with this Indiana team when they take their trip to Puerto Rico in mid-August, which would be incredible. And for this guy who can play point guard or shooting guard, can play with or without the basketball in his hands, and is going to be one of the best three-point shooters on the team, I think that Aleksa Ristic is going to be, for this Indiana team in particular, in 2025 and 2026, I think Aleksa Ristic is going to be what we wanted Luke Goode to be last year. And here's what I mean by that. When Luke Goode came into this team a year ago from Illinois, he was a 3-and-D guy. He was big, he was athletic, and he could shoot. You brought him in to basically do those things on Mike Woodson's Indiana squad. It just didn't happen that way. Very streaky shooter. He played limited minutes. When he was on, he was great. When he wasn't, he was just kind of a body. Still a good defensive player, still an effort guy, still a fan favorite, but you just didn't get what you wanted out of Luke Goode. And by no means is this me talking badly or trash about Luke Goode. I love the kid, and I was hoping it was going to work out to get another year of eligibility, but we all have seen how that has played out. I think with Ristic, again, someone who scores 13 points a game, averages over 4 assists, who gets his teammates involved, and as I mentioned, will be one of the better three-point shooters on this team. As long as his game translates from Serbia to the United States to Power 4, Power 5, D1 college basketball, he's going to be exactly what you wanted Luke Goode to be. A little bit shorter, yes, but I'm talking just the scoring threat off the bench for Darren DeVries and his staff. Kenny Johnson's the one that's getting most of the credit for this commitment. His agent, Ristic's agent, that is, has talked a lot about Kenny Johnson and their relationship with Aleksa and how Kenny Johnson has really worked this to make it possible over teams like Kansas and Georgetown and others. And so that just kind of shows you what the, I guess, not the market value, but I guess the demand for a guy like this was. And we've gone into detail at times about how I love this idea of going to get international players and branching out a little bit. We know about Luigi Suigo, who's been visiting this week as well. I just think Ristic could be that X factor that we were looking for a year ago. I think this team is much more talented. I think there's many more scorers. I think there's more shooters on this team. But you bring someone in who I don't think will be a starter, but has 4 years of eligibility remaining. So he doesn't have to start right away. He doesn't have to step in and be next to Lamar Wilkerson in the starting 5 in game 1 in November. You don't need him to do that. Come in, learn this team, learn this system, learn American college basketball and the differences that it is from the Serbian basketball league that he's in, and just let him kind of play. Just let him hang out and let him kind of develop into this system. And then once he's ready, I would hope by, around the start of Big Ten play, I know a couple of games in December, I'm talking more of the turn of the year, right, in 2026. Then you bring him off the bench and just see what he can do. Let him be a stand in the corner guy and a 3-point maestro. I don't know. See what can happen. He's good with the ball in his hands. He's good without the basketball. He finds the open pockets of the defense and just waits for the pass. He can shoot it off the bounce. He can shoot it off the pass. He can get to the lane. He can do it all. And I think it's a no-brainer to add this kid, and not enough people are talking about it. And they won't. People outside of Indiana, people outside of this state who don't wear these colors, who don't wear this logo, they don't care. They're not going to talk about this. But once he steps in and starts making an impact, you will know his name. People will know who Aleksa Ristic is. I think he's going to make that big of an impact, and he is the one that could be a difference maker in a game. He could come in and make a couple of threes. He could get on fire. He could do the dirty work, make the plays. That's what these international guys do. They just play the game the right way. And that's why I think this is a very underrated addition for Darren DeVries and this staff. So credit to them for making this possible, making this happen. And I think he's going to be a lot better than those on the outside are going to give Aleksa Ristic credit for. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, we will talk about Latrell Allmond, who has now visited Indiana. His rankings actually went up as well during the visit, not because of it, but coincidentally. We'll talk about how it went, show you some photos from the visit as well, and what it would mean for him to be a Hoosier. That's coming up next right here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, man, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, right? That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building a little bit of wealth. All in one is why you should use Monarch Money. Everything is right there. All your accounts, all your investments, all your everything. Anything that's got to do with money, it's in one spot. It's with Monarch Money. They make it easy, they make it simple, and really make it stress-free, which is why I use it, and I'm telling you that you need to do the same. All right, so take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again so much for making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Reminder, some more football talk coming up a little bit later in the show as Curt Cignetti just does what he does, just picks up another verbal commit in the class of 2026. And speaking of verbal commits, that's what we're trying to get in the class of 2026 on the basketball sides of things. So we know that we've had some visitors on campus, right? Sammy Jackson was here last weekend. Luigi Sowego has been visiting, but so has Latrell Allmond, who is a top 50 player. He's been ranked 47th in the 247 polls for quite some time, or I guess the rankings, not the polls. He's been ranked 47th for quite some time, but funny enough, they actually updated their rankings this week, and he went up. He's now 42nd in the country in high school recruiting rankings, and I'd be willing to bet he moves up again. I'm not sure when they'll update him again, but my guess is he's going to move up a few more times. Latrell Allmond, just to give you a reminder, in case you are unaware of what he is, kind of where he's from, his stats and things like that, he is 6'8", 225 pounds, from the state of Virginia. He's considered a very, very high 4-star. They have changed his position. He is now technically a power forward, which is what he will play at the next level. He plays the 4 and the 5 in high school, but at 6'8", 225, with his athleticism and his ball handling and his scoring ability, he is absolutely, without a doubt, a power forward in the college game. You could honestly, if you really wanted to, you could play him as a big 3 if you needed it, if you wanted it, if that's kind of how your rotation worked out, right? But he is a 4 at best, a 6 foot, and I say that in a good way, 6'8", 225, offers from all over the place. Louisville's in on this, Georgetown's in on this, but I feel really good about where Indiana is, and I've continued to tell you that I think Indiana's going to get a verbal commit, their first commit, by the way, in the class of 2026, sometime in June. And when this comes out on the on Thursday, right, when you are watching this on the day of the episode, you're only going to be a week and a half away from the end of June. So Hoosiers fans are probably saying, well, where's the commits, Jacob? Where are they? You said you predicted that one was going to happen, and I still am. I'm still predicting that to happen. And my best guess is that it's Latrell Allmond. I just have a feeling, and from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing and what I'm being told, this visit went well. So well that I think he will be the one to commit. It just seems like all signs are pointing towards Latrell Allmond being an Indiana Hoosier. And I took some of his photos that he posted from his Instagram. Okay, these aren't mine. They're from his Instagram. But these are some of the photos that he posted from his official visit to Indiana. So if you're on audio, if you're listening on your different podcasting platforms, just go check out his Instagram. You can find it. Just search Latrell Allmond. It's 2 L's at the end and 2 L's in his last name as well. But for those of you on YouTube, you can check this out, right? It's him with his family. It's him with his family. Obviously, Darren DeVries is there on the left. He's got his whole crew there. They just look super excited, man. They look super happy to be there. They're all decked out in Indiana gear. They just look super pumped to be there. His dad and his siblings and everybody who wants to be there, all decked out in Indiana gear. They're all standing with head coach Darren DeVries. We move on to this photo again from his Instagram. It's the classic. It's him raising the basketball. It's him in front of the Indiana floor on the wall. I mean, him wearing the Indiana whites. And then there's this one, the one with him in the pants, right? Our Indiana pants and the white jersey holding the basketball in the locker room. And so you look at those, and I know they do this on every visit, and I know so many kids say, oh, the visit was great, and it went wonderful, and we loved our time, and my family loved it, but this just feels different. It just feels different, and here we are again as an Indiana whole, as an Indiana sum. We are here again with a really good recruit, 4-star, 5-star, whatever the case may be, he's a 4. We're feeling good about a recruit. We feel like a commit could be coming. And then what happens? Well, in the past, we get strung along, and most of the time we get punched in the gut and they go somewhere else. But this is a new era. It's a new age. It's a new coach. It's a new staff. All of that could change. Is Latrell Allmond the best player in the class of 2026? No, he's not. He's not the best, but he's really stinking good. I love his form. I love his style. He's a do-it-all type of guy. I was going to say he's a me guy, but that's not right. He's a do-it-all type of guy. He's a, what's the term I want to use for Latrell Allmond? He's just basically give me the basketball and get out of the way. He can shoot, he can score, he can penetrate the lane, he can make the right pass, he can get up and down. He's your high-flying, energetic, highlight reel type of guy. That's just what Latrell Allmond is. And I feel like him being in Indiana in the system that Indiana is going to run just makes a lot of sense. I mean, you've got teams from the SEC offering this guy. You've got teams from the ACC offering this guy, the Big Ten offering this kid. It just feels like this system would work for him. And this would be a place he would be beloved. And to be the first commit out of high school for the brand new coach and a brand new staff. He knows a lot of these guys. They've been recruiting him in other places, but for this to be the first one in the class of 2026, I think would be a really, really big deal. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't, we cannot be discouraged. We cannot go back to what we used to do and say, oh, here we go again. Had another one in the bag and let him slip away. Well, got strung along, and then there he goes, watching him go somewhere else. We can't fall into that trap yet because this is a new time. This is a new era. There's so many things to consider, but I'm telling you, Latrell Allmond is a difference maker. Latrell Allmond is somebody who could start as a freshman at Indiana because let's be real. We have no idea what this roster is going to look like this time next year. Not a clue. But I think he's only going to continue to rise in the rankings as he has in the past 12 months. He's 42nd right now. Folks, he could be a top 30 player by the time this is all said and done. Because all these sites are going to adjust their rankings a few more times. He could be a top 30 player by the time it's all done. And I firmly believe that. I'm not saying that because to hype it up, I'm not blowing smoke. I firmly believe that. Turn on the film. Just go watch it. YouTube it. Google it. Latrell Allmond. It's all there. Someone who I think would fit the up and down style of Darren DeVries, the scoring style of Darren DeVries, and somebody who's willing to play defense and be hard-nosed Big Ten basketball. That's what Latrell Allmond brings. And I think he wants that. I think that's what a player like him thrives in. A system that pushes you, a system that demands so much from you, but is going to give you so much back. And that's what the Indiana fan base does too, right? We demand so much from our guys, from our players, from our coaches, from our teams, but we give you everything back. That's what you can get if you come to Indiana, if you're Latrell Allmond. We'll see how it works. We'll see what he does and what comes from this. But I feel really, really good about where Indiana stands as of right now with the 4-star Latrell Allmond, the 6'8" power forward from the state of Virginia, took his visits this week. Check out his photos that we showed you on his Instagram page. And maybe he will be the first verbal commit in the class of 2026. Well, speaking of verbal commits in the class of 2026, how about we flip over to football, huh? Because that's just what Curt Cignetti does. That's just what the staff does. We're what, 36 hours away or remaining or away from whatever word you want to use from the last time we got a commit. And by the time you're watching and hearing this, we've probably got another one. We'll talk about the latest for Indiana football right after this here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. All right, final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. We're having a blast here in the month of June. And if you are listening on the audio side of things with Spotify or Amazon or Pandora, whatever you're using, doesn't matter to me. Just appreciate you being here and that you are listening on your various audio podcasting platforms. And so if you are listening there, just really quick, make sure that you are following us there, subscribe to us there if it's possible, notifications turned on so you never miss any bonus episodes, like a Big Ten squad that's going to come out today that I did, in fact, host. So make sure that you check that out, and that'll be coming out later this afternoon. And so do that for me if you're on your audio podcasting platforms. And then if you are watching on the YouTube side of things with the video, make sure you like the video. Comment your thoughts down below on Aleksa Ristic, Latrell Allmond, and the football stuff we're going to talk about in just a moment. And subscribe to the channel if you have not already, okay? So now we flip over to football, where Indiana gets them another one, this time from the state of Florida. That's right. Curt Cignetti goes all the way down south into the swamp and gets one in the class of 2026. Laron Dues. He's a defensive back from the state of Florida, one who has verbally committed to play for the Indiana Hoosiers. He is a corner in Florida at his high school of Cardinal Mooney. Word is that Indiana and this staff are actually recruiting him to be a safety here in Bloomington. He's 5'9", 178 pounds. He can absolutely fly. Just athletic as everything. Not super big, but makes up for it with his athleticism and his playmaking. He is unranked, okay? He is an unranked prospect in the class of 2026, but I don't want that to scare you away. I don't want you to undervalue this commit because, oh, he doesn't even have a ranking. He doesn't have any stars. I mean, can he really be that good? In my opinion, I think Indiana has recruited this kid and got a verbal commitment out of him. And I'm going to tell you some of the things he said in just a moment. I think Indiana is recruiting him based fully on potential. I think he's a developmental piece. I think he's one that you will bring in, allow him to be a part of the team, go through practice, go through all the reps, and see what he's got, see what he can do. And if he hangs around for 2 or 3 years, he absolutely could be somebody that starts down the road for this Indiana team. I think that's the direction that they went with this recruitment and with him committing to the Hoosiers. And he had some quotes. He talked about how he loved being here. He loved the focus that this Indiana staff showed to him. Again, Laron Dues, the 2026 corner from the state of Florida, being recruited as a safety. Says he just loves the energy that Indiana brings and the fact that this staff came in, turned it around, and have built a winning culture. How can you argue with that? If he's good enough to get a scholarship offer from the likes of Indiana, West Virginia, and others, Oregon was in this category too, that all had scholarship offers out to this guy. How could you really argue that he doesn't have the stuff, that he doesn't have the athleticism, the skill, the IQ, the potential to be a really good player at the Power 4 level? I think he absolutely could. And look, there's not a ton of film on this guy. There's not a ton of film on him, but you can find some. And I was able to see some. And I just, again, I see the athleticism that he uses to make up for his lack of size. And so with all of that, my point that I want to make here is the fact that you continue to hear recruit after recruit after recruit who comes to Bloomington. And honestly, this is for basketball and for football, but definitely with football because of the very early track record that Cignetti has built here. When they come for a visit, they rarely leave without a commit. And they always talk about the focus that this staff puts onto them and the attention and the love and the positivity that they show to these recruits. And some of you will say, well, duh, they all do that on every visit at every school, at every coaching staff. Okay, cool. We haven't always had that. Can we acknowledge that for a second? Can we acknowledge that we haven't always had 18 plus verbal commits in the class of 2026 in the middle of June or for any other class in the previous years? Can we acknowledge that this is a new thing, that this is something to celebrate? I don't care that the kid's unranked. I think he's talented, and I think he has potential to be really good and make an impact on this football program years to come and years down the road. but they all are saying the same thing. And Cignetti's not giving them a cue card to read when they go and talk to journalists and reporters and podcasters or whoever. These kids mean it. They're talking about the impact that they can make on this Indiana team, and the coaches are telling them that because they believe it. Because the coaches believe that that can be the case. And I think that Laron Dues is the exact same way. He's the 18th commit in the class of 2026. He's the second from the state of Florida behind Kavante Hugan, who's ranked in, I think third in the class in total for Indiana so far. And so he came on a visit last weekend. He commits to the Hoosiers a couple of days later. You are now still flirting with a top 25 class in the class of 2026 if you're Curt Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers. Who's going to be next? By the time you watch or listen to this, have we already gotten another one? Heck, probably. That's the trend that we've been on so far in the month of June. And it's still weird. It's still a little different for this to be the month for recruiting rather than seeing it later this month and into July and things like that. But man, it's hard to complain with what Indiana has done so far on the high school recruiting trail. You pick up another one, the 18th commit in the class of 2026 for Curt Cignetti and Indiana football. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. We're having a blast and appreciate you sticking with us all through the month of June. More coming up tomorrow, okay? So that's when we are back for another episode to wrap up the week, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.